So we've been talking about linear equations in two variables, and in the last section we graphed using equations and intercepts. Now we're going to talk about the slope of a line. So the slope of a line passing through 2 points, which we call x1, y1 and x2, y2, and we use the variable m for slope. So that is the change in y over the change in x, or we also might say the rise over the run, or the difference of the y variables divided by the difference of the x variables. So when we say rise, we're talking about how far up or down it goes between points, and the run is how far we move to the right between points. So there are 4 different types of slopes, as you can see in these pictures. A positive slope, as we go from left to right, means the line is rising. A negative slope means the line is falling as we move from left to right. A horizontal line has a 0 slope, and a vertical line has an undefined slope, and we'll talk about why that is more in a little bit. So let's practice finding the slope. So let's find the slope of the line passing through -1, 2, and 3, 4. So we have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, I label these points. So we have x1, y1 is our -1, 2, and 3, 4 is our x2, y2. So now we just plug in. So y2 is 4, minus y1 is 2, and we're dividing that by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is a -1. And now we just do the arithmetic. So 4 minus 2 is 2 in the numerator, and 3 minus a -1, that's really like a 3 plus 1, so that gives us 4. And then, of course, we have to reduce our fraction. So 2/4 is 1/2. So since the slope is 1/2, which is positive, that means the line is rising from right to left. Sorry, from left to right. Okay, as always, pause the video and try to do number 2 on your own. Okay, now that you've done that, we have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, we can go label our points. So let's make -6, 6, x1, y1. And -6, -1, we'll label x2, y2. Now, I know it seems silly to label the points, and if you don't need to, that's fine. I, on the other hand, even though I know better, tend to get my points crossed up if I don't do this. So that's why I'm doing it. So y2 is -1 minus y1 is 6 divided by x2 is a -6 minus x1 is also a -6. So that gives us -1 minus 6 is -7. -6 minus a -6, remember that's like -6 plus 6, which is 0. Now, hopefully everybody remembers, and this is very important, we cannot ever divide by 0. So if there's a 0 in the denominator, that number is what we call undefined. So in this case, we have an undefined slope, which means that we have a vertical line. So if you want, up here in the pictures where it says undefined slope, that's what happens when we get m is a number divided by 0. Now for a 0 slope, it's the other way around. We get 0 in the numerator divided by a number. All right. So that's easy if they give us 2 points. We just have to plug in the numbers for the variables and we're good. What happens if they give us a graph? Well, that's easy too. All we do is pick a point that crosses at the corner of the grid lines where they meet. And we pick 2 of those and we can use those. So for example, if we look at number 3, we have the point on the y-axis, the y-intercept is 0, 2. And the other point they've labeled for us looks like 6, -2. So we can use those and the slope formula and find our slope. So that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, does it matter which point we label as x1, y1 and x2, y2? The answer to that question is no, it doesn't. So let's see. We have, I'll just do it this way, x1, y1 over x2, y2. Sorry, not over. So y2 is -2 minus y1 is a +2 over x2 is 6 and x1 is 0. So -2 minus 2 is a -4. Divide by 6. And if we simplify that, we get -2/3. So it's a negative slope. So the line is falling as we go from left to right. Now, that's using the algebraic formula to find the slope. Let me go erase what I wrote on the graph, and we'll talk about how we can do this in another manner. So, let's see. We're going to use the same 2 points that are marked on this picture, but we're going to use them to make a triangle. So we make this side and we make the horizontal side. Now, this distance, the vertical side, this is our rise. And the horizontal side is our run. So if we start at this point here and we count the number of units down to this other corner, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So since we went down 4, that gives us a rise of -4. And if we count from this bottom corner here over to the other point on the line, we'll get our run. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we simplify that, we're at -2/3 again. So the rise was -4 and the run was 6. So that's how you can do it graphically without having to apply the formula. And we'll do a couple more examples in the next video.